The thunderclap jolts me awake at 3:17 a.m., but it's the steady drip 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 that keeps me from falling back asleep. My new bedroom, still smelling faintly of fresh paint, suddenly feels unfamiliar in the darkness. Another drip, then another. My hand fumbles for the bedside lamp. What the? Water trickles down from a darkening spot on my ceiling, landing with perfect rhythm onto my grandmother's quilt. Not one spot but three, forming a constellation of trouble above my bed. I scramble to my feet, pulse hammering against my ribs as I grab the metal mixing bowl from the kitchen and place it under the most persistent leak. Lightning flashes, illuminating the growing water stains. My throat tightens. This house, my house, is only 3 months old to me. The rain intensifies, drumming against the roof like an angry mob demanding entrance. And suddenly there's a new sound, water hitting hardwood from somewhere down the hall. I follow the noise to find similar dark patches forming in the hallway ceiling, then the bathroom, then the spare bedroom. 5, 8, 12 leaks, appearing like some horrific magic trick. My hands shake as I collect every pot, bowl, and bucket I own, placing them strategically across the house. The basement, I whisper, and the words feel like a premonition. I take the stairs 2 at a time, gripping the railing that Samuel insisted was solid oak, built to last generations. The light switch clicks, revealing my worst fears. Water seeps through hairline cracks in the foundation walls, creating small rivulets that converge into a growing puddle across the concrete floor. The water heater stands in 2 inches of flooding, the circuit breaker box dangerously close to moisture. My chest tightens until breathing becomes a conscious effort. 3 months ago, I stood on this very spot, house keys clutched in my triumphant grip, Samuel's arm around my shoulder. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime deal, sis." His voice echoes in my memory. "You'd be crazy to pass it up." I splash back upstairs, grab my phone, and pull up the photos I took on closing day. My proud smile, the congratulatory flowers from coworkers, the champagne toast with Samuel and Mom. The culmination of nearly 10 years of sacrifice, the cramped studio apartment, lunches packed in reused plastic containers, weekends spent working overtime while friends traveled to beach getaways. "This can't be happening," I whisper to the empty room. "I saved for almost 10 years. Rain batters the windows as I dig through the drawer, where I keep all the house paperwork. Samuel had handled everything, the inspection, the disclosures, the repair certifications. He was the real estate agent after all. My big brother, the expert, guiding his little sister through her first home purchase. The file folder spills across the kitchen table. Inspection report, repair certificates, disclosure forms, all bearing unfamiliar signatures. My fingers trace over the roof certification dated just 2 months before my purchase. Excellent condition, 15-year minimum life expectancy. The foundation assessment claims no evidence of water penetration or structural compromise. My mother's voice surfaces from last Thanksgiving. "At your age, you should have been a homeowner years ago. Your cousin Teresa already has her second property." The rain drumming against the windows feels like an accusation now. I trusted them. I trusted Samuel because he was family. But as I stare at these documents, something cold and rational awakens inside me. The certifications all come from companies I've never heard of. The inspector's license number looks oddly similar to the roof certifier's business license. These repair certificates look off, I murmur, pulling out my laptop. Around 7 o'clock, my sleepless night and several searches later, my suspicions crystallized into something more concrete. The roof company doesn't appear in any business registries. I called Samuel, but he did not respond. The foundation inspector's license expired 3 years ago. I called Samuel, but he did not respond. Then I sent my mother interrogating messages. An hour later, my phone buzzes with the special ringtone I assigned to Samuel. I answer without greeting. "Hey sis, Mom mentioned you asked about some leaks? Old houses settle, you know." "Probably just minor issues. I'll swing by tomorrow with my caulk gun. Fix you right up." "The basement is flooding, Samuel. The foundation is cracked. The roof is failing everywhere." "All houses have little problems," he laughs, the sound hollow. "Remember, you got this place for a steal. Some maintenance is expected." My voice steadies. "I'm changing the locks tomorrow." "What? Why would you?" I ended the call without a word. 10 minutes later, my mother's name lights up my screen. "Celia Andrews, how dare you lock out your brother who helped you? After everything he did to get you into that house, This is how you show gratitude? The house is falling apart, Mom. Did you know? Silence stretches between us, damning in its duration. You're overreacting. It's just a little water. After hanging up, a voicemail notification appears, Dad. His voice sounds strained. Your mother says you're overreacting about the house. Call me back when you can. I called my friend Kelly instead. The doorbell rings at 9 a.m. Kelly stands on my porch holding 2 coffee cups, accompanied by a burly man with a tool belt. You sounded terrible on the phone, she says, pressing a warm cup into my hand. This is Mike. He's a contractor friend who owes me a favor. Mike whistles low as I lead them through the house, pointing out each leak, now captured in a variety of kitchen containers. In the basement, he kneels by the foundation wall, scraping at a suspicious patch with his pocket knife. The fresh concrete crumbles away, revealing the crack continuing behind it. I've seen flips like this before, Mike says, standing and brushing dust from his knees. They covered it up just enough to pass inspection. This wasn't disclosed? I shake my head, a hard knot forming in my stomach. Your family did this to you? Kelly asks quietly. Samuel was my agent. He brought in the inspector. My voice cracks. My life savings. $68,000 for the down payment. Kelly's arm wraps around my shoulders. This isn't right, Celia. Your family took advantage of you. Rain continues to fall outside, but inside, something shifts. The shock and betrayal begin to crystallize into something harder, more determined. I take a deep breath and straighten my spine. I need to find out exactly what they did. The contractor Mike stands in my basement, examining crumbling concrete with practiced hands. Water still seeps from behind a fresh patch on the foundation wall, creating a small rivulet across the floor. He takes pictures with his phone, the flash illuminating dark corners where water stains tell a story older than my 3 months of homeownership. See this? He points to the junction where wall meets floor. They used color-matched concrete to hide the crack, but didn't fix the actual structural issue. Kelly's hand finds my shoulder. How bad is it, Mike? He straightens, brushing dust from his knees. Bad. This isn't just a leak from the storm. These are chronic issues someone deliberately covered up. The word deliberately hits me like a physical blow. I brace against the wall, steadying myself. Let's see those inspection papers again, Mike says. Upstairs, I spread the documentation across my kitchen table. The coffee Kelly brought sits cold beside stacks of papers bearing unfamiliar signatures. Mike flips through them, his frown deepening with each page. This inspection report is garbage, he says finally. It doesn't even mention the foundation. And look at this. He taps a signature at the bottom. Martin Keller. I know every inspector in this county, and there's no Martin Keller. My brother arranged everything, I whisper. The implications tighten around my chest like a vice. Mike pulls out his phone and searches something. The license number on this report belongs to a home inspector whose certification expired 3 years ago. My throat constricts. How is that possible? They took a real license number but faked the name, Mike says. The roof certification is just as bad. Company doesn't exist. Kelly picks up another document. Look at this repair certificate for the electrical panel. Same handwriting as the roof paper, just different letterhead. Mike excuses himself to make a call, stepping onto the back porch. Through the window, I watch him gesturing as he speaks. When he returns, his expression has hardened. I called a buddy at the county records office. This house was purchased 8 months ago by Andrews Investments LLC. He looks at me. Any relation? The room spins slightly. That's my brother's company. Mike nods as if confirming a suspicion. He bought it as a flip property. My buddy says they pulled permits for cosmetic work, only new cabinets, flooring, paint. Nothing structural. Kelly's eyes widen. They were trying to unload it. Not just trying, Mike says. According to my buddy, there were 2 pending sales that fell through after inspection. Real inspections, not this nonsense. He taps the fraudulent papers. I sink into a chair. They couldn't sell it to anyone else, so they sold it to me. I look up at Kelly and Mike, their faces confirming what I already know. My own family deliberately sabotaged my financial future. They weren't helping me achieve my dream, I say, the realization crystallizing. They were solving their problem. Memories cascade through my mind. Mom's urgent voice last Christmas. You're not getting any younger, Celia. This market won't wait forever. Samuel's insistence on handling everything. Trust me, this is what I do. Dad's uncomfortable silence during the closing, the way he wouldn't meet my eyes when Samuel handed me the keys. I need documentation of everything they knew and when, I say, surprising myself with the clarity of thought emerging from my shock. Mike nods. I can give you a full inspection report with photographs and repair estimates. It's going to be expensive, isn't it? I ask. Ballpark? You're looking at about $120,000 to make this place safe and up to code. My stomach lurches. My entire savings gone, and now 6 figures of repairs needed. But something has shifted inside me. The initial shock has hardened into something more dangerous, a cold determination. Kelly's phone rings. She answers, listens briefly, then looks at me. It's William, your dad. He wants to talk to you. I take the phone. Dad? Celia. His voice sounds strained. Your mother told me you're making accusations about the house. They're not accusations, Dad, they're facts. Samuel sold me a house with known structural defects that he deliberately concealed. A long pause. I didn't know how bad it was. Can we talk? The doorbell rings. Kelly answers while I continue with my father. Through the kitchen window, I see a woman in a crisp pantsuit standing on my porch. Kelly returns with her. This is James Morgan's assistant. James is a real estate attorney. I called her prior to coming here this morning. The assistant extends her hand. Mr. Morgan has an opening at 3 today. He believes you have a strong case for fraudulent misrepresentation and failure to disclose. I tell my father I'll call him back and end the call. For the first time since waking to water dripping on my grandmother's quilt, I feel something like hope. Later, as we prepare to leave for the attorney's office, my phone buzzes with a text from Samuel. Mom is devastated by your accusations. We put everything on the line to help you, and this is how you repay us? Another text follows. We're $80,000 in debt from trying to renovate that place. We were just trying to recoup our investment. Kelly reads over my shoulder. They're scared. They should be, I say, tucking the phone away. Let's go see James Morgan. I gather the fraudulent inspection reports, the contractor's assessment, and photographs of the damage. As we head to the car, I notice Mrs. Hendricks from next door watching from her porch. She waves hesitantly. Your brother told us what a good deal you were getting, she calls. Said he was doing you a special favor because you're family. I pause, a new thought forming. Mrs. Hendricks, would you be willing to tell an attorney what my brother said to you about this house? She nods slowly. I remember thinking it was strange how much he talked about what a good sister you were to buy his investment property. Another piece of evidence falls into place. I smile for the first time in days. Celia, Kelly says as we get into the car. This isn't just about the money anymore, is it? No, I reply, watching my leaking house recede in the side mirror. It's about making sure they never do this to anyone else. The next morning, after I slept at a temporary apartment, the previous owner's business card burns in my palm as I stand in front of his blue Craftsman with the meticulously tended flower beds. Mr. Prescott, a retired electrical engineer with wire-rimmed glasses and carefully combed silver hair, invites me inside with a puzzled expression. I wasn't sure I should meet with you, he says, gesturing toward a floral-patterned sofa. Your brother was quite insistent that I not discuss the property with anyone. My heart hammers against my ribs. That's exactly why I'm here. Mr. Prescott disappears into his study and returns with a thick manila folder. I kept copies of everything. Force of habit from 40 years in corporate America. He adjusts his glasses. When your brother approached me about buying the house, I was upfront about everything wrong with it. His weathered hands carefully extract a document with an insurance company letterhead. This is the denial letter from my homeowner's insurance. They refused to renew coverage due to the foundation issues and roof damage. He taps a paragraph highlighted in yellow, dated 14 months ago. I scan the document, each word like a knife twisting deeper. The insurance company specifically cited extensive pre-existing foundation compromise and evidence of repeated water intrusion through failing roof structures. Mr. Prescott sighs. I told your brother everything. Showed him all the documentation. That's why I was shocked when he made an offer anyway. May I take photos of these documents? Take the originals. I made duplicates. He slides the folder toward me. There's more. Check the email printouts in the back. I flip through until I find them. My breath catches when I see the recipient, J. Turner at solidfoundationsinspection.com. The name sparks immediate recognition. Jeff Turner, my brother's college roommate. The words taste bitter on my tongue. Mr. Prescott nods. Your brother asked him to provide a favorable assessment despite the structural issues. Said something about a family matter. He looks at me with genuine concern. I assumed you knew. An hour later, I sit in my car, sunlight catching the dust motes floating through the air as I methodically photograph each document. License numbers circle in my mind. The inspector's credentials expired 3 years ago. The roof certification company doesn't exist in any state business registry. The foundation assessment bears a license number that belongs to a long-defunct construction company. My phone buzzes with a text from Kelly. How did it go with Prescott? I type back. I have everything. Samuel used his college roommate as the inspector. Insurance denied coverage due to foundation issues a year before I bought it. They all knew. Kelly's response is immediate. This is fraud. Call James. James answers on the first ring. His voice carries the controlled excitement of a seasoned attorney who recognizes a winning case. This is exactly what we needed, Celia. This isn't just unethical, it's criminal misrepresentation. Your brother's real estate license is now officially at risk. The weight pressing on my chest since that first rainy night finally begins to lift, replaced by something unfamiliar, a potent mixture of vindication and raw power. For the first time since the ceiling started dripping, I'm not just a victim with accusations. I have ammunition. What's our next move? I ask, a new steadiness in my voice. Document everything. Then we move to confront. On your terms, not theirs. The following morning, I text my parents. Coffee at Magnolia Cafe, 10 a.m. Important family discussion. The public setting is deliberate. No shouting, no drama, just facts on neutral ground. I arrive 20 minutes early, selecting a corner table with good visibility. The folder sits before me, its contents organized with the precision of my accounting background: affidavits, photos, insurance denials, fraudulent inspection reports, and email exchanges. My father arrives first, looking uncomfortable in a worn button-down shirt. My mother follows minutes later, her mouth pinched with disapproval. Samuel trails behind, checking his phone with performative casualness that doesn't mask the tension in his shoulders. This better be important, Celia. My mother starts, arranging herself in the chair without removing her designer sunglasses. We have the Henderson listing appointment at 11:30. I say nothing, simply opening the folder and sliding the insurance denial letter across the table. I found the previous owner. He told me everything. The change in Samuel is immediate. His face drains of color, and his hands begin to tremble so violently that coffee sloshes over the rim of his cup. My mother stiffens, her fingers clutching her purse with white-knuckle intensity. I don't know what you're talking about, Samuel attempts, but his voice cracks on the final word. You knew about the foundation issues and the roof damage before the sale. I keep my voice low, measured. You deliberately concealed material defects that you had a legal obligation to disclose. My mother leans forward. We just wanted to help you become a homeowner, sweetheart. Everyone has to start somewhere, and with property values the way they are. Stop. I place another document on the table. This is an email from Samuel to Jeff Turner requesting a favorable report despite observed deficiencies. Dated 2 weeks before my closing. A couple at a nearby table glances over, curious about the growing tension radiating from our corner. Samuel notices them looking and lowers his voice to a harsh whisper. Look, there might have been some minor oversights in the disclosures, but... Minor? I cut him off, placing photos of the flooded basement side by side with the falsified inspection report claiming no evidence of water penetration. My entire life savings, Samuel. Everything I worked for over the past decade. My father stares at the documents, his face ashen. I didn't know it was this bad, he murmurs, not meeting my eyes. My mother's hand shoots out to grip his arm. William, don't say another word. For the first time in my life, I watch my father deliberately remove my mother's hand. No, Martha, this isn't right. Samuel attempts recovery, leaning forward with the smile that closed countless deals. Celia, let's discuss this privately. I'm sure we can work something out between us. That opportunity passed when you decided to commit fraud. I close the folder with finality. James Morgan will be contacting you both formally this afternoon. The name of the well-known real estate attorney causes Samuel to sit back abruptly. My mother's mouth opens and closes without sound. You wouldn't do this to your own family, she finally manages. I stand, gathering the folder. You did this to me first. Later that evening, my father shows up alone at my temporary apartment. His shoulders slump as he surveys the water-stained furniture I managed to salvage. Can I see the rest of the damage? He asks quietly. We drive to the house in silence. I watch his face as he takes in the full extent of what they'd hidden, the black mold creeping across bathroom walls, the foundation cracks widening by the week, the buckling hardwood floors. I had no idea it was this bad, he says, voice barely audible. I thought they were just helping you. My phone rings, Kelly, checking in. James called. She says when I answer. He says your documentation creates an ironclad case. The previous owner's statement alone would be enough, but with those emails. After I hang up, my father stands in the middle of the ruined living room, looking suddenly older than his 62 years. I'm so sorry they did this to you, he says finally. The words unlock something tight in my chest, validation that I'm not crazy, that I don't deserve what happened, that seeking justice isn't an overreaction. He reaches for his car keys. What can I do to help? Tell the truth, I say. That's all I need from you now. As he leaves, I stand in the doorway of my damaged house, watching the sunset paint the neighborhood in golden light. For the first time since that stormy night, I feel something beyond anger and betrayal, the calm certainty that comes with knowing you're fighting the right battle, and that you're not fighting alone. 2 days later, the conference room at James Morgan's law office feels like a war room. Stacks of documents cover the polished mahogany table, inspection reports, disclosure forms, county records, and a timeline of communications Kelly helped create. I scan the piles with a precision born from years of accounting work, my initial shock giving way to something colder and more focused. The roof certification isn't just suspicious, it's fraudulent, James says, tapping a document with his index finger. The company doesn't exist in any state business registry. I nod, feeling oddly detached as I organize another stack of papers. The hurt that consumed me during that coffee shop confrontation with Samuel and Mom has crystallized into something harder, more tactical. Fraudulent misrepresentation is our strongest claim, James continues, but we also have failure to disclose, breach of fiduciary duty, and potentially license fraud. What's the burden of proof? I ask, pulling out my notebook. The accountant in me craves specific parameters, measurable standards, preponderance of evidence. We need to show it's more likely than not that Samuel knew about these issues and deliberately concealed them. I've spent the past 3 days studying real estate disclosure laws until my eyes burned. Samuel had a legal obligation to disclose all material defects, especially those affecting structural integrity or posing safety hazards. Exactly, James says with approval. Your brother's license required him to put your interests above his own. Kelly returns with coffee for everyone. So what's our next move? Build an ironclad case before filing anything, I reply, accepting the steaming cup. I need to understand exactly what they violated and have documentation to back every claim. William arrives, carrying a weathered leather briefcase. My father looks older than he did a month ago, the lines around his eyes deeper. I found these in our home office, he says, sliding a folder toward me, Samuel's original notes on the house before he marketed it to you. James whistles softly as we examine the contents. Handwritten notes detail foundation cracks, water intrusion points, and a complete roof replacement needed as soon as possible, underlined twice. This is exactly what we needed, James says. Direct evidence he knew. The methodical work continues through the afternoon. We arrange for certified inspectors to document every issue, create a chronological record of all transactions, and build what James calls a bulletproof case file. William provides context about family finances that helps explain the desperation behind their actions. Your mother refused to believe they were overextended, he says quietly. Samuel convinced her this was the only way out of their financial hole. First, Kelly organizes photos of damage beside the falsified inspection reports. The side-by-side comparison is damning. No judge could miss this deliberate concealment, she says. I recruit 2 neighbors who remember Samuel's specific claims during the showing, promises about solid construction and at least 15 years before any major repairs needed. Their statements add weight to our growing documentation. We work with the precision of surgeons, meticulously building a case that will leave no room for denial. It feels strange channeling my hurt into such coldly efficient preparation, But there's something healing in the process itself. Taking control, understanding exactly what happened, and creating a pathway to justice. My phone buzzes with a text from William later that evening. Samuel approached me after work. Said you're destroying the family. My heart stutters. Samuel confronted Dad. I tell Kelly and James. He's trying to pressure him. That's actually a good sign, James says. It means they're worried. Another text arrives from my cousin Teresa. Your mom told everyone you're filing a frivolous lawsuit because you regret buying the house. What's going on? I close my eyes briefly. Mom's spreading rumors to the extended family. Kelly squeezes my shoulder. They're trying to control the narrative because they know they're vulnerable. A cold knot forms in my stomach. I hadn't considered how far this might extend beyond Samuel and Mom. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all potentially turned against me based on their manipulated version of events. What if Dad caves under the pressure? I ask, voicing my deepest fear. James shakes his head. The documentation speaks for itself. Even if he stopped cooperating, we have more than enough. I straighten the papers before me, aligning their edges with precision. They're still trying to control the narrative, I say. But we have something more powerful. What's that? Kelly asks. The truth, I reply, placing the final document into our case file. Documented, verified, and irrefutable. As we finish for the day, I feel a strange calm settle over me. The frantic herd of discovery has transformed into something more deliberate and focused. Samuel and Mom may have their rumors and manipulation, but we have something they can't counter. Paper trails don't lie, and family ties, I'm learning, aren't always stronger than the truth. 3 weeks into meticulous preparations, evidence and documents, the folder of evidence sits open on my coffee table, organized with the precision I've relied on throughout my accounting career. Photos of water-stained ceilings line up perfectly with inspection reports claiming no evidence of moisture penetration. Foundation crack documentation sits beside certifications of structural soundness. Each lie methodically exposed. We're almost there, James says, adjusting his reading glasses as he reviews our civil complaint. His finger traces over a paragraph about Samuel's license violations. The real estate commission filing is ready too. Timing will be crucial. And I nod, feeling a strange calm settle over me. 3 weeks ago, I would have been pacing, my voice pitched with anxiety. Now I simply watch as James assembles the final pieces of our case against my own family. Your brother was thorough in covering his tracks, James continues, but he wasn't thorough enough. My father clears his throat from the doorway. He's been stopping by daily since our confrontation with Samuel and my mother, bringing coffee and sometimes sitting silently as we work. Today, he carries a manila envelope. I found these in my home office, he says, sliding the envelope across the table. Samuel asked me to store some paperwork. I never looked inside until yesterday. James opens it, and I watch his eyebrows rise. Inside are repair estimates dated months before I purchased the house. Foundation repairs, $42,000. Roof replacement, $28,000. Electrical system overhaul, $15,000. They knew, I whisper. They knew exactly how bad it was. Dad sits heavily on the couch. I'm sorry, Celia. I should have asked more questions. I place my hand over his. The skin feels paper thin, spotted with age. Once, those hands seemed capable of fixing anything broken in our childhood home. Now they tremble slightly. We'll add these to the documentation, James says, matching the repair estimates with our photos. Side by side, the evidence becomes irrefutable. Kelly returns from the kitchen with fresh coffee. This is damning, she says, examining the estimates. What's next? We need to be absolutely thorough, James replies. The moment we file, Samuel and Martha will claim I'm pursuing a vendetta. We can't leave any opening for doubt. I spread the photos across the table, clinical in my assessment now. The emotional storm has passed, leaving behind a focused clarity I never knew I possessed. Every leak, every crack, every patch of mold carefully documented and matched with falsified reports. My phone buzzes. Samuel. I haven't spoken to him since our coffee shop confrontation, but I answer. You need to stop this, he says without greeting. His voice sounds strained. Do you understand what happens if you go through with filing these complaints? There will be family consequences you can't undo. I remain silent, listening. Mom is already telling everyone you're just money hungry. He continues. Cousin Rachel's wedding next month? You can forget about attending. Thanksgiving at Aunt Patricia's? Not happening. The threat hangs between us. Once, this would have devastated me. Now I recognize it as leverage, the only kind he has left. I know about your financial history, Celia. The late payments on your student loans 3 years ago when you were between jobs. The credit card you maxed out after Dad's heart attack. I can make you look irresponsible. I end the call without responding, my mind already calculating this new variable. Samuel? Kelly asks, reading my expression. He's preparing counter-accusations about my financial history. I explain. And Mom is telling the extended family I'm money hungry. James frowns. We should prepare for character attacks. Dad stands straighter. I'll speak to your mother. No, I say. Let her talk. This isn't just about money anymore. The question surfaces in my mind, clear and unavoidable. Am I ready to permanently change my family relationships? The holidays, birthdays, weddings, all the occasions that once seemed immutable fixtures of my life. James gathers the papers, tapping them into a neat stack. The paperwork is ready. We can file first thing Monday. William places his hand on my shoulder. You have the truth on your side. I look around at my support system, James, with his meticulous legal mind, Kelly with her unwavering loyalty, Dad with his quiet courage. The realization settles like bedrock beneath me. I'm no longer the desperate woman placing mixing bowls under ceiling leaks. I've become something more formidable. Something my brother and mother never anticipated. Monday, I confirm, feeling the weight and rightness of the word. We file Monday. On Monday morning, Samuel's email arrives at 6:42 a.m., but I don't see it until after my first cup of coffee. The subject line reads, Urgent, legal matter, respond immediately. My stomach clenches as I open it, my toast forgotten on the kitchen counter. Celia, I've filed an ethics complaint against your attorney with the State Bar Association. James Morgan has engaged in a pattern of harassment and defamation against me as a licensed real estate professional. I've attached documentation proving you were fully aware of all property conditions prior to purchase. Please direct all future communication through my attorney. My phone rings before I can process what I'm reading. It's James. Celia, we need to talk. Samuel just filed a complaint against me with the bar. I just saw his email, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. What does this mean for our case? It's a desperate move, but potentially dangerous. He submitted altered documentation, claiming you knew about the foundation issues before closing. Altered documentation? That's impossible. He doctored the disclosure forms, adding your initials to paragraphs about pre-existing water damage. He's also alleging you committed mortgage fraud by knowingly misrepresenting the condition of the property to your lender. The room tilts slightly. My coffee cup slips from my fingers, splashing liquid across the countertop. That's criminal fraud, James. He's saying I could go to jail. It's a bluff, Celia, but a calculated one. My phone buzzes with a text from Kelly. Channel 5 just interviewed Samuel outside his office. He's calling himself a victim of family betrayal and false accusations. Call me. Before I can respond, an email notification from my company HR department appears. Request for meeting regarding external financial allegations. James, my employer just contacted me about allegations. What's happening? Samuel's escalating. Making this public, trying to damage your reputation before we can file our case. He's created a narrative that you're trying to extort him after making poor financial decisions. I sink into a kitchen chair, my legs suddenly unreliable. My mother called William this morning. She was crying, saying I was destroying the family. My voice catches. He said she tried to convince him I was becoming unstable and needed help, not legal action. They're applying pressure from all angles, James says, his voice grim. This is their most aggressive move yet. Are you ready to respond just as forcefully? I think about the months of preparation, the documented evidence, the falsified inspection reports. What's our counterattack? We file everything. Today. Complete documentation with the court and the real estate commission simultaneously. We've prepared for this, Celia. It's time to deploy everything. 2 hours later, I meet Kelly at James's office. The conference room table is covered with organized stacks of documents. I just got 3 calls from friends asking if I was really trying to bankrupt my brother over minor house repairs. I tell them, my hands shaking slightly as I set down my purse. Samuel's version of events is spreading through our entire social circle. Kelly squeezes my shoulder. I've already provided my written statement about the condition of the house before you purchased it. Remember what we found in the attic? The receipt for temporary foundation patches dated a week before your showing? James nods, tapping a thick folder. We have everything we need. The previous owner's testimony, the contractor reports, the falsified inspection documents, and most importantly, the door opens and my father walks in, looking tired but determined. His eyes meet mine. I brought what you asked for, James. He places a manila envelope on the table. Martha doesn't know I found these. Samuel left them at our house after Celia's closing. It's the additional evidence about fraud and false reports about the house. My throat tightens as I reach for his hand. Dad, thank you. I should have spoken up sooner, he says, his voice rough with emotion. When Samuel started targeting your professional reputation, I knew this had gone too far. James opens his laptop. With William's evidence, we can file for an emergency injunction against Samuel's business operations pending investigation. The Real Estate Commission will move quickly once they see the original inspector's signature alongside the falsified documents. My phone rings, Samuel. I silence it, and moments later a text appears. This will destroy your career if you don't back down. Last chance to fix this quietly. I show James the message. His response is immediate. That's textbook intimidation. We're adding it to the filing. Within hours, James submits our complete case file to both the court and the Real Estate Commission. The evidence packet contains everything: inspection reports, repair certificates, foundation assessments, witness statements, Samuel's threatening messages, and William's damning testimony. By evening, my phone won't stop buzzing with notifications. Friends sending screenshots of Samuel's social media posts calling me mentally unstable. Family members forwarding Martha's emotional pleas about family loyalty. Even my aunt in Florida called to ask why I was persecuting my poor brother. How are you holding up? Kelly asks, bringing me tea as we sit in her living room. I've been staying with her since the intimidation started. Better than expected. I answer, surprising myself with the truth of it. A month ago this would have broken me. Now it just confirms I'm doing the right thing. My phone lights up with James's name. Celia, the judge granted our emergency hearing request. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. So soon? The Real Estate Commission representative called me personally after reviewing our evidence. They're sending someone to observe the proceedings. Samuel's attempt to discredit you actually accelerated everything. After I hang up, Kelly looks at me with concern. Are you ready for tomorrow? I nod, feeling a strange calm settle over me. For the first time since this started, I'm not afraid of them. The truth is all documented now. Later that night, as I review my testimony one final time, my father calls. Celia, your mother and Samuel came to the house tonight. They wanted me to sign a statement saying I never saw any documents and that you've been acting irrationally. My heart skips. What did you do? I told them to leave. I said I'd see them in court tomorrow. His voice breaks slightly. I'm sorry it came to this, sweetheart. Me too, Dad. James says our case is solid. The evidence speaks for itself. After we hang up, Kelly brings me a cup of chamomile tea and sits beside me on the couch. Try to get some sleep. Tomorrow we show them what real integrity looks like. I close the folder containing my testimony notes. Tomorrow everything changes, my family, my reputation, my future. There's no going back, no settlement possible, no version of tomorrow where things return to how they were. Samuel's final text arrives as I'm getting ready for bed. You have no idea what you're walking into tomorrow. I don't respond. There's nothing left to say that the court won't hear in the morning. The next morning, the courthouse looms like a limestone fortress in the morning light. I adjusted my blazer, the navy one I'd planned to wear, suddenly felt too casual for today and gripped my leather portfolio tighter. The weight of documentation inside represents months of methodical work, each page a brick in the wall of evidence against my own blood. Ready? Amen. James asks, his voice steady as we approach the imposing steps. Kelly squeezes my arm. You've got this, Celia. The courtroom buzzes with low conversation. I spot familiar faces from the neighborhood, colleagues from Samuel's brokerage, and even Mrs. Winters from across the street. My stomach twists when Martha and Samuel enter through the side door with their attorney, a silver-haired man whose tailored suit probably costs more than my monthly mortgage payment. Samuel catches my eye. his face a mask of practiced concern. He leans toward his attorney, whispering something that makes the man nod. Martha dabs at her eyes with a tissue, the picture of maternal distress. William slides into the bench behind me. "I'm here," he whispers, his hand briefly touching my shoulder. "All rise," the bailiff announces as Judge Eleanor Harmon enters, her expression unreadable behind wire-rimmed glasses. The proceedings begin with clinical efficiency. Samuel's attorney presents his opening statement, his voice resonating with practiced sincerity. "Your Honor, this case represents an unfortunate misunderstanding between siblings. My client, a respected real estate professional with 15 years of experience, helped his sister purchase her first home. Now Miss Andrews claims fraud because of routine maintenance issues that arise in any property." He displays documents on the court, monitor disclosure forms bearing my signature, repair certifications with official-looking stamps, photos of the house on closing day. "These issues," he continues, gesturing toward a diagram of the house, "fall within standard disclosure exemptions under Section 82.4 of the State Real Estate Code. Minor pre-existing conditions, which my client reasonably believed were resolved, are explicitly excluded from mandatory disclosure requirements." NY. Martha nods along, her expression pained yet dignified. I watch several observers shift uncomfortably in their seats. When James rises, the energy in the room changes. "Your Honor, what we have here isn't a misunderstanding, it's a meticulously orchestrated fraud." His voice carries no theatrics, just the steady cadence of certainty. "The defense has presented what appears to be proper documentation. We will systematically demonstrate that every single one of these documents was falsified, backdated, or created specifically to conceal known structural defects." James produces the first exhibit side-by-side photos of my ceiling, before and after the storm. "Miss Andrews saved for nearly a decade to purchase this home, trusting her brother and mother to guide her through the process. Instead, they exploited that trust to unload a property that had already been rejected by 3 previous potential buyers due to structural issues." Samuel's lawyer stands. "Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is making unsubstantiated claims about prior sales." "Not unsubstantiated," James counters, placing another document on the projector. "This is the complete transaction history for the property, showing 3 failed sales in the 4 months preceding Miss Andrews' purchase, each one terminated during inspection periods." Judge Harmon examines the document. "Objection overruled. Continue, Mr. Morgan." James nods. "We will present evidence that Mr. Andrews and Mrs. Martha Andrews deliberately concealed foundation issues, roof deterioration, and electrical code violations that would have made the property unmarketable at the sale price." For the next hour, James methodically dismantles each piece of Samuel's defense. He calls the certified inspector who examined my home after the storm, who testifies about cosmetic patches covering structural cracks. "In my 27 years of inspection work, these are among the most blatant concealment techniques I've seen," he states, pointing to photographs of freshly painted sections of my basement wall. "You can clearly see where older concrete was patched to hide foundation cracks. This isn't amateur work, it's deliberate concealment." Samuel's attorney attempts to discredit him, suggesting alternative explanations for each defect, but the inspector remains unshaken. "These aren't wear and tear issues, counselor. These are serious structural deficiencies that existed long before Miss Andrews' purchase, temporarily masked by cosmetic repairs designed to fool a casual observer." When William takes the stand, I notice Martha straighten in her chair, her eyes narrowing. My father's voice stays remarkably steady as he recounts finding repair estimates in Samuel's home office. "I was helping Samuel organize his files when I found a folder labeled, 'Andrews Repairs Do Not File.' Inside were contractor quotes totaling over $90,000 for foundation and roof work on the property. Celia eventually purchased." "And when did you find these documents?" James asks. 2 weeks before Celia closed on the house." William's voice catches. "I asked Samuel about them. He told me they were old estimates for work that had already been completed. I believed him." The previous owner testifies next, a retired contractor whose weathered hands gesture emphatically as he speaks. "I told Mr. Andrews about the foundation issues when I sold him the house. That's why I accepted such a low offer. He said he had the skills and connections to fix everything properly." He looks directly at Samuel. "I would never have sold knowing the repairs wouldn't be made before selling to someone else." By mid-afternoon, The systematic destruction of Samuel's defense is nearly complete. When the original building inspector takes the stand, the one whose signature appears on my inspection report, the final piece falls into place. "This is not my signature," he testifies, examining the document. "I've never inspected this property. Furthermore, I was on medical leave during the dates listed here following bypass surgery." Samuel's confident facade begins to crack. I watch his knee bounce under the table as he scribbles notes to his attorney. Martha's makeup has smudged from repeated tissue dabs that never quite produce actual tears. Judge Harmon leans forward. "Mr. Harris, are you suggesting your signature was forged on this inspection report?" "Without question, Your Honor. And the license number here? It's off by 1 digit from my actual license." The courtroom murmurs grow louder until the judge calls for order. When it's time for cross-examination, Samuel's attorney attempts damage control, suggesting clerical errors and miscommunications rather than deliberate fraud. But each explanation sounds increasingly hollow against the mountain of evidence. Judge Harmon removes her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose before addressing the court. "Having reviewed the evidence presented today, this court finds clear and convincing evidence of deliberate fraudulent concealment." Her gaze fixes directly on Samuel. "Mr. Andrews abused his position as a licensed real estate professional and exploited familial trust to perpetrate what appears to be a textbook case of real estate fraud." The tension in my shoulders begins to release as she continues. "This court awards judgment to the plaintiff in the amount of $200,000, representing the cost of necessary repairs, diminished property value, and punitive damages." She taps her papers into alignment. "Furthermore, I am ordering a lien against Mrs. Andrews' condominium property to secure this judgment." Samuel's attorney begins to object, but Judge Harmon raises her hand. "I'm not finished. The court will refer this matter to the district attorney's office for consideration of criminal charges and to the State Real Estate Commission for administrative action regarding Mr. District Tester Keenis Andrews' license." She looks directly at me. "Miss Andrews, this court recognizes the extraordinary courage required to pursue justice against family members. The evidence you've presented was thorough and compelling." I nod, unable to speak past the tightness in my throat. The gavel strikes with finality. As we rise, I notice a representative from the Real Estate Commission, making notes in the back row. Samuel stares straight ahead, his face ashen, while Martha clutches the railing for support. Outside the courthouse, sunlight bathes the steps in warm afternoon light. Kelly wraps me in a tight hug. "You stood up for yourself when it mattered most," she whispers. James shakes my hand, satisfaction evident in his normally reserved expression. "This is why I practice law," he says simply. William approaches hesitantly. "I'm so sorry, Celia. I should have—" "You came through when it counted," I interrupt, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. Looking back at the courthouse doors where Samuel and Martha exit with their attorney, I realize something fundamental has shifted. The woman who woke to water dripping on her grandmother's quilt months ago would never have imagined standing here today, vindicated and stronger. I take a deep breath of autumn air, tasting victory, and something else, the freedom that comes from claiming your own power. 10 years of saving, 3 months of betrayal, and methodical preparation have led to this moment of absolute clarity. What now? Kelly asks as we descend the steps. "Now," I say with newfound confidence. "I rebuild, but on foundations I know are solid." The settlement check sits on my kitchen counter like a trophy. $200,000 feels simultaneously like justice and a poor substitute for what I've lost. It's been 3 weeks since the judge ruled in my favor, and Samuel's brokerage terminated him the same day. The Real Estate Commission suspended his license pending further investigation. "You sure you want to sell the house?" Kelly asks, leaning against my rental apartment's counter. "You could fix it properly with the settlement money." I shake my head, watching rain streak down the windows without the knot of dread I'd grown accustomed to. Too many memories. Every creaking floorboard would remind me of them. My phone buzzes with a text from Dad. Since the trial, he's been calling almost daily, his voice carrying the weight of his own guilt. I should have seen what they were doing. He told me last week, his eyes fixed on his coffee cup. "All those hushed conversations between your mother and Samuel. I convinced myself they were planning a surprise for you." I text him back, confirming our lunch tomorrow. Our relationship is different now, more honest, more careful. We're learning to rebuild on a foundation of truth rather than obligation. Your listing agent called, Kelly says, scrolling through her phone. 2 offers on the house already, even with all the disclosed issues. Because we're honest about everything wrong with it. I find myself smiling at the irony. Full disclosure actually works. James Morgan stops by later with the paperwork for the lien against Mom's condo. He's agreed to become my permanent legal advisor, something I never imagined needing before this ordeal. The district attorney is considering criminal charges. He mentions casually, organizing documents with practiced precision. Samuel's former clients are coming forward with similar stories. I never wanted to destroy my family, I admit, the words catching in my throat. James looks up, his expression softening. You didn't destroy anything, Celia. You simply exposed what was already broken. The truth of his statement settles over me like a warm blanket. Sometimes family is defined by honesty, not just blood. 6 months later, I stand in the doorway of my new living room, watching raindrops race down windows that don't leak. This house, my real house, passed 3 separate inspections before I signed a single paper. The inspector, recommended by James, spent 4 hours examining every inch of the property, pointing out minor issues with refreshing candor. The gutters need cleaning, and you'll want to reseal around the bathroom fixtures within a year, he'd said, making detailed notes. But the foundation is rock solid. Those words still bring me comfort during rainstorms like tonight's. My phone rings, Dad calling from his volunteer shift. Just finished helping a couple walk away from a money pit, he says, pride evident in his voice. The seller tried the same tricks Samuel used on you. After the trial, Dad joined me at the Real Estate Transparency Initiative, a consumer protection group where we volunteer weekends, educating first-time homebuyers. 3 families have already avoided situations similar to mine through our workshops. Did you use the inspection checklist I made? I ask, settling into my reading chair. It was perfect, he confirms. The wife kept saying how grateful she was to have someone point out the red flags. We chat about his upcoming visit this weekend. Our relationship has transformed from the strained politeness of before into something authentic. We've established boundaries and expectations that make both of us feel secure. The conversation shifts to Mom and Samuel. They've retreated from family gatherings, unable to face relatives who know the truth. Last month, Mom left a voicemail asking if we could move past all this unpleasantness. I saved it but haven't responded. Trust must be earned, even from family. After hanging up, I notice an email from my coworker Diane. Subject line, House Emergency Help. The message details familiar pressure tactics from her brother-in-law Realtor, pushing her toward a quick decision on a perfect starter home with a suspiciously low price. My heart races with recognition, the same urgency, the same family obligation, the same red flags I missed. Months ago, I would have sympathized but offered little practical help. Today, I responded with specific resources, inspector recommendations, disclosure requirement checklists, and an offer to review any paperwork before she signs. Trust is earned, even from family. I write, verify everything. I include James's contact information and offer to accompany her to viewings. This isn't just about Diane, it's about breaking a cycle that traps too many first-time homebuyers. Saturday evening, my living room fills with the warm chatter of trusted friends. Kelly arranges appetizers, while Dad adjusts a framed house illustration, my housewarming gift, from the Real Estate Transparency Initiative volunteers. To new beginnings, Kelly announces, raising her glass as everyone gathers in a circle. I look around at these people, not all related by blood, but connected by something stronger. Dad stands tall beside me, his hand occasionally touching my shoulder in a gesture of support that would have seemed impossible a year ago. Outside, rain begins to fall, the gentle patter against solid windows providing a soothing backdrop rather than triggering anxiety. In this moment, surrounded by people who've proven their trustworthiness, I finally understand the lesson beneath all the pain. Sometimes, the hardest battles are against the people who should protect you, I say quietly, raising my glass to join the toast. But winning those battles teaches you who truly deserves your trust. The glasses clink together, catching the warm light of my new home, a home built on truth rather than deception, strength rather than vulnerability, and chosen family rather than obligatory ties.